History is always being made. Oftentimes, that history is made up of the experiences of others, from their biggest struggles to their resounding victories.
It's bittersweet because you feel like, why in 2024 are we talking about an African-American female being the first?
But for some, their experiences and how they go down in history can show dark realities.
Our stories are not always glamorous. Our stories are not all that we want them to be, but they're still our stories.
But regardless of the kind of stories that are told, the motivation to keep them alive persists.
Now people say, well, why do you share those stories? It's a part of our story. And it's not just Black history, it's the history of the community.
And despite some of the harsh history, there are also plenty of stories that highlight tradition, relationships, and a sense of belonging.
It's just really a blessing to be able to stand on the shoulders of those individuals who have come before us, who've created such just, a wonderful tradition and legacy.
Naturally, there's a lot of value in telling those stories, to learn, to celebrate, and to push ahead.
Honoring Black History, presented by Window World, APS, and Minuteman Press.
Thank you for joining us for this News 19 special Black History Month Education in the Arts. I'm Tamika Alexander. Tonight, as Black History Month prepares to come to a close for this year, we want to take the next 30 minutes to remember and recognize the struggles of Black Americans throughout our nation's history and to consider the state of where Black history stands today, celebrating those who continue to etch their name into the foundation of our country. Those accomplishments are long and storied. So tonight, we want to focus specifically on contributions of Black Americans to education and the arts here in the Tennessee Valley. Education is an integral part of the mission of Black History Month. Every year, we as a nation take the month of February to look back on Black leaders and pioneers and teach younger generations about historical figures that had long gone without any recognition for their contributions. How that history has been taught has changed over time. But for decades, Black history was ignored and misrepresented, leaving families to ensure the truth was preserved. News 19's Brian Lawson reports.
This was how Black history was taught in Alabama from the 1970 fourth grade history textbook, No Alabama, 3rd edition.
Most Black people probably did not like being in the system of slavery. Most wanted their freedom. However, all but the most intelligent made the best of the situation and seemed to be fairly content.
There were other lessons.
There were no Blacks in the books that I had in school, other than there was a story about slaves who built the old State Bank building, bringing the columns there from Trinity on ox carts.
And still more.
I went to all of the teachers and the principal and made a demand. Hey, we deserve Black History Month. One of the things that happened was they gave it to us, but they did it in a harmful way. So in our library, they put up one picture, I think it was of Dr. Martin Luther King, and had us all walk through the library, and they were like, and there's your Black History Month.
Historian Peggy Allen Towns, who attended segregated school in Decatur, says Black history is obviously American history, but not enough has been shared.
That has inspired me to tell the rest of our story.
O.C. Maddox Jr., who hosts Black History Facts on WHRP, first learned Black history at home. He remembers his parents reviewing a door-to-door salesman's encyclopedias. They were not impressed.
But there was no type of content about us in 1969, 1970, 71.
But history wasn't lost.
Guess what? We retained that as a young Black family because we still had those living members of our family, as well as others who were still alive during that time, where you could get it at home.
Alabama students heard other lessons. Here's how No Alabama described the KKK.
Many Alabama white men believed they could not depend on the laws nor the new state government. They wanted to get the government back into the hands of the men they felt knew how to run it.
Camille Bennett has led the protest to remove the Confederate monument in Florence. She's a child care center owner and executive director of Project Say Something. History lessons are vital, she says.
The subject needs to be taught because it is history. If you talk about the Civil War, which Alabama loves to talk about, and omit slavery.
That's not the whole story.
Well, we're in Alabama. do people understand how much rich history is here? I think that the children need to learn about the Freedom Riders. They need to learn about the Children's March that ended segregation. That happened in Birmingham, Alabama.
Peggy Town says her mother's favorite phrase still resonates.
If you don't know where you've been, you'll never know where you're going. And so it was imperative for her to share Black history with us.
Maddox points to how Black history has been misrepresented. At slavery's end,
Frederick Douglass stood up and did his profound speech that you'll find online. And he said, we don't want any handouts, we want liberty.
members of Congress promised freed slaves 40 acres and a mule, a limited version of what was given some European immigrants. But that proposal died.
Well, what happened? Black Americans, after slavery, bought and obtained, not by this nation, over 77 million acres that they bought themselves.
Through Jim Crow laws and closed-off banks and courts, much of that land was ultimately lost, taken. Peggy Towns worries political misinformation and lies will continue to harm people, but Black history is a story of profound resilience.
Our stories are not always glamorous. Our stories are not all that we want them to be, but they're still our stories. And I believe unless we stand on our truth, we're lying.
She also believes in the power of history to inspire new dreams.
Booker T. Washington with 50 cents and a dream. Mae Jemison with a dream to be an astronaut when her teacher told her she couldn't be. Wilbur Bridges with a dream just to go to a school near to her house. During Black History Month, and again, it's America's history. And all of us as individuals should be able to stand tall and recognize that we are all a part of this fabric.
Brian Lawson, News 19.
For many people, this year's Black History Month celebration may feel different, maybe even ominous. After being in place for several decades, programs that focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion are under attack and being rolled back even on the federal level, where some employees are now being barred from acknowledging the month. News 19's Greg Screws talked to a man who devoted much of his working life to DEI efforts in raising the quality of life for everyone.
Diversity, equity, inclusion. DEI, 3 words in an acronym that fly against the wind in today's political landscape.
I order the end to all of the lawless diversity, equity, and inclusion nonsense policies across the government and all across the private sector and the military.
The president also directing federal agency websites to scrub their DEI web pages and threatening universities with endowments of over $1 billion with extra taxes if they don't drop DEI efforts.
When I say a lot of people, I want to be clear. Not just African American people, it's people in general, because people are seeing this as an attack on civil liberties, an attack on human rights and other kinds of things, and also a destabilization of what was and has been for a very long time. So yes, it does feel different in a lot of ways.
Kenny Anderson is retired from the city of Huntsville and now a consultant. Anderson ran Huntsville's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Office. That office is now called the Office of Multicultural Affairs.
What I've been trying to say to people is don't be distracted by the noise that's out there. The noise of dissent, the noise of those that are detracting from what should be a moment of glory, acknowledgement, and recognition.
Black History Month is about just that, Black history, and passing down from one generation to the next what Black history is and how it is the foundation for the future.
To be able to say that because we have deep ownership in this history and this storytelling, which is really a part of the African experience. The griots of old were storytellers. They were people who transferred information from one generation to the next. It is our responsibility to place upon the minds and hearts of people today that our story as Black people cannot be lost because it's our responsibility to tell it.
And he says that has to continue no matter what the storytellers face in the telling of their history.
And regardless of what happens in terms of people who try to quench those voices, that there has to be a sense of internal resilience that says we will not allow that to happen. It doesn't need to be a fight over that, We just need to keep moving forward what we've done for so many years in terms of promoting these positive stories and concepts.
The celebration of Black History Month also is a celebration of bringing more voices to the table, to the workplace, to our world, and it makes a better and more productive environment. Kenny Anderson says real-world data backs that up.
Those companies that have operated on the principles of DEI have had a much better outcome in terms of their ability to be what they are and to be a space for people to thrive and become better. It's not a negative thing. It is a very positive thing that people should embrace and celebrate, not run from.
While we often think of Black History Month as a reflection on historical events, Black history is still being written across the country, and North Alabama is no exception. I sat down with a Huntsville history maker who is breaking barriers in city government and pinning her name down in Black history. Michelle Watkins is a lifelong resident of the Rocket City. The former educator got her start in politics by serving on the school board for Huntsville City Schools, a position she held up until recently when she decided to run for a different office.
Well, I toiled with that idea. It was a hard decision because education is so near and dear to me that when I finally made the decision, it was like you felt like you were giving up your baby. But, you know, growth and change comes, and sometimes it's time for change.
When Watkins won the seat for Huntsville City Council District 1, it was a change that was decades in the making. And how do you feel about making history as the first Black woman here in the city of Huntsville to serve on the city council?
It's bittersweet because you feel like, why are we in 2024 when I won the seat? Why in 2024 are we talking about an African-American female being the first? It should have happened years ago, but I embraced it.
Watkins has embraced her new role by taking a boots-on-the-ground approach. She says she enjoys getting out in the community, getting to know the people she was elected to serve.
I love going to the neighborhood store and they're talking to me about their issues and concerns. And even when they're complaining, I have to remember it's not necessarily a complaint, it's a concern, and it's one that I have to take serious.
Something else that's serious is DEI, or diversity, equity, and inclusion. Watkins helped push to change the name of the city's DEI office to the Office of Multicultural Affairs.
Well, Multicultural Affairs encompasses everyone. You know, it's multicultural. And we have to remember that with everything that's going on with DEI, we don't want to lose the focus or the office. Bringing multicultural affairs into the viewpoint of which it was recently, that was the name of the office, it ensures that we are including everyone. We're inclusive and not exclusive.
What do you want your legacy to be as the first African-American woman to serve on Huntsville City Council?
I just want my legacy to be one of the people. You know, I sit in the seat, but the people own the seat. And I have to make decisions that are mindful of what they want. You know, not what Michelle wants, but what they want. And more so than anything, that I leave a legacy of integrity, honesty, and trust. Those are three of the key factors in my life. I want people to remember one thing: no matter what goes on, we always have to be mindful that we're stronger together.
We will be remiss to mention education's role in Black history and not talk about one of the most prominent educators in North Alabama's history, William Hooper Council, and the school he founded, the state-colored Normal School at Huntsville, now known as Alabama A&M University. This year, A&M marks 150 years of educating the next generation on the Hill. Since its establishment, the university has continued to break records, including welcoming its largest freshman class in history this past fall. Normal is home to the oldest HBCU marching band, the Marching Maroon and White, and is a pioneer in STEM education across the nation. As students, faculty, and alumni begin to celebrate the remarkable achievement of 150 years, may we never forget the university's contribution to Huntsville and the state of Alabama. Along with Alabama A&M, two other predominantly Black universities stand as pillars of education: Drake State Community and Technical College and Oakwood University. When you hear the name Oakwood, you probably think about its connection to the Seventh-day Adventist Church, but there's a chance you think of some of the famous performers and actors that walk the halls of the school. Beyond their degrees, they all share a connection to another part of the university, its choir. Our Mariah Wiggs shows us how this group has left a lasting impression on the music industry as a whole.
From the grounds of Oakwood University, comes an unforgettable sound. Majestic. Polished. The Aeolians Choir was founded under the direction of Dr. Eva Dykes in 1946.
And
for nearly 80 years, the ensemble has captured audiences with its powerful delivery.
I really say anointing. I really think that this group is anointed and that it's special.
The ensemble was awarded the title Choir of the World in 2017 and doubled down on the name in the World Choir Games in 2018.
I need to hear more of that.
This level of excellence resonates with Jeremy Jordan as the choir's current director and a former member.
It takes a lot of sacrifice and it takes a lot of discipline and it takes a lot of dedication to be in this group, to keep up with your studies, to be able to be a well-rounded individual.
The Aeolians has drawn singers to Oakwood University for decades.
You think of programs, colleges that have sports programs. They attract, the top athletes to their universities. Likewise, with Oakwood and the Aeolians, they attract the best singers within the Seventh-day Adventist Church from all over the world. The alumni of the Aeolians, are who's who in the music industry.
The lessons and exposure given to students in the choir have forged countless paths within the arts. Writers, composers, singers, and actors known across the globe got their start in this very choir. Rock and roll superstar Little Richard, 5-time Grammy winner Mervyn Warren, members of Take Six, Sunday Best winner Amber Bullock, the list goes on. Among that list of notable alumni is actor Clifton Davis. His love for music was nurtured as a member of the Aeolians.
I am proud to be a graduate of Oakwood University in class of '84. A lot of memories come back to me for my time matriculating here.
Playing the piano, singing, and testing his skills with a pen led him to write the Jackson 5 hit, Never Can Say Goodbye. Davis is no stranger to the arts, most noted for his role as Reverend Reuben Gregory in the 1980 sitcom Amen.
The early 70s, remembering how difficult it was to find roles. And now we have African-American writers, and it lifts my spirit to see how many advances African-American professionals in this industry have made.
He's returning to daytime with a lead role in CBS's Beyond the Gates. Filmed in Atlanta, Georgia, the Black-led daytime soap opera follows a wealthy and socially involved family living in Maryland. Davis plays Vernon Dupree, patriarch of the esteemed family.
All the things that you expect do happen. But let me say this, these stories have never been told. These are stories of a wealthy African-American family who is politically connected, but just like everybody else, we get into lies and deception and affairs and sneaking around and who's doing what to whom.
Since its humble beginnings, the Aeolians Choral Ensemble has taught artists to serve through music, a harmonious lesson that transcends from generation to generation.
Sometimes I think about Dr. Dykes. I was like, man, I wonder what she would think of the Aeolians now, to be able to see where it is now. And not only Dr. Dykes, but other directors, who have been able to be a shepherd, a leader, and just to kind of think about those individuals and to say, I'm pretty sure that they would be proud.
Reporting in Huntsville, Mariah Wiggs, News 19.
Captain, don't you kill me. The Aeolians have been hard at work collaborating with several artists, including 5-time Grammy winner Samara Joy, and being featured on Kendrick Lamar's latest album, GNX. Keeping Black history alive takes effort and time. Without those efforts, the history will fade into the background and be forgotten. There are very few areas of Huntsville's history that William Hampton has not played a part in memorializing. He knows something about everything and nearly everyone who made this town what it is today. The Huntsville ambassador says some stories are easier to find than others. News 19's Lauren Layden sat down with him and learned why it's so important to learn every story.
I have a quilt that was made in 1880 that was donated. Confederate souvenir reunion medals signed baseball by Negro League All-Stars.
William Hampton has dedicated his life to preserving the city's history.
Huntsville had streetcars. Some of the tracks are still there.
The artifacts he's collected now live here at the Huntsville Revisited Museum.
The Super Slide was where Parkway City Shopping Center was located, which is now Parkway Place Mall.
It's open to anyone who wants to see the many faces who made the city what it is today.
We just share what's called the front porch experience.
Because that's where Hampton's passion for local history was born.
Sitting at the feet of my great-grandparents. They were colorful storytellers, and as they shared stories of Huntsville and Huntsville's history and the Huntsville they grew up in, I fell in love with it.
So his research began.
Now, he served under General Pershing in World War I, my great-grandfather, John Lewis Hampton.
Fast forward to 2008. Hampton launched the Huntsville Revisited Facebook page to share decades of moments he had collected over the years.
The stories of the everyday people, the everyday men and women who make this city, who make this community special.
More than 40,000 people follow along and share their stories too. 12 years later, Hampton expanded, opening the doors to the museum.
I was proud of Huntsville and wanted others who were Native sons and daughters to be proud of Huntsville, and then those who came here from other places, I wanted them to appreciate the community as well.
Despite its past, Hampton says he realized early on in his research not all history was recorded equally.
It was lacking within the Black community. Prominent citizens, their stories are readily available. Our history, mostly oral, and you have to dig a little deep.
And as he did,
the 10th Cavalry Buffalo Soldiers were sent here in 1898. These were people of color. Their weapons were taken.
He's uncovered harsh realities.
I have a sign over behind us, colored waiting room. I had a lady come in and she says, "Why do you have that in here? You know, that only stirs up hate." I said, "Ma'am, it's a part of our story." And I pointed to my hand and I said, "And I lived it." She said, "There's no way you lived that." I said, "Ma'am, I'm in my 7th decade of life. It's not that far, not that long ago."
Instead of turning away from that pain, he's preserved it.
Behind me are some jars, and they share the story of Madison County's lynching history. Now people say, well, why do you share those stories? It's a part of our story. And it's not just Black history, it's the history of the community. Chapters in the book of Huntsville.
And his goal is to eventually fill every page, honoring all who are part of the city's story.
My grandparents and my great-grandparents would be well pleased of the way this has been preserved. They laid the foundation, and I stand on their shoulders.
Stories of resilience and history are often passed from generation to generation through storytelling. Word-of-mouth stories kept Black history alive long before Black History Month was ever established. And those stories still have their place today to help pass on wisdom. There's no better place to share a story than at the dinner table, surrounded by family, friends, and great food. That's why it's called soul food, because it's more than just a meal. Tonight, we're taking you to a couple of local spots where tradition meets flavor, with every dish telling a story of resilience and community. News 19's Dallas Parker reports.
Tables just like this one at Kimmy's Social House in Decatur can be found across the South, wherever Black families and friends gather.
Aside from it being really good food and tasting great, it comes from a lot of tradition of Black people in the South getting together, families getting together. It was a way for us to make do with the food that we had, the resources that we had, and be able to bring us together.
It's soul food, with roots that trace back to the transatlantic slave trade. Enslaved Africans had to make do with the scraps they were given. They turned humble ingredients into meals that nourished both body and spirit. Over time, these recipes evolved, blending African, indigenous, and Southern influences into the dishes we know today.
Soul food and building relationships, it's like building that extended family. Like just seeing how we can all take that same piece of chicken, those same seasonings, the same grease, cornmeal, macaroni and cheese, and it's always just a little bit different everywhere you go.
For many Black families, soul food isn't just about the exceptional flavors. It's togetherness, Sunday dinners, holiday feasts, special occasions all center around these meals, passing on traditions generation to generation.
I'm gonna have my grandmama do the candy yams. I'm gonna do the mac and cheese. I'm probably gonna have my uncle do the ham.
Here in North Alabama and beyond, soul food is definitely not one set of recipes. Spots like G's Country Kitchen in Huntsville and in Decatur, Kimmy's all feature different flavors. For a long time, soul food restaurants were the only safe place Black families could be assured of getting a restaurant meal.
This would be like the main spot in the Green Book. Like, you know, back in the day, we couldn't eat at every restaurant. So a lot of times we would have to travel. We would travel with baskets of chicken and things that we would bring from home. But there was this one little glimmer in every city, or a couple glimmers in every city, where we could stop and have a meal or lay our heads that was safe for us.
Even today, these restaurants are more than just a spot to eat. They're cultural hubs where history, identity, and community are celebrated.
Since we've been open, we've been able to have our birthday parties and just celebrations. Soul food is love. You make soul food for people that you care about, right? This is for your family. This is not for, you know, just every day, you know what I mean?
It's not just great food, it's food for the soul.
Just take pride in the food that we made, the culture, the one that nourished us through all of our hard times.
A beautiful reminder of the power of the shared table. Food serving as a bridge between generations, carrying the stories of the past and lighting the future for Black Americans. In Decatur, Dallas Parker, News 19.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight as we look at the present state of Black history in North Alabama and put some of the music and soul of our community into the spotlight. We hope that you feel inspired by some of the stories you've heard and empowered to find stories of your own Black history to pass down through your family, because Black history isn't just relegated to only 28 days out of the year. It's part of our collective history.